Yo my peoples, welcome to the channel once again. This is going to be episode 3 of the Better Project. So today we will be going through the fundamentals of leg training, hopefully bring you a little bit of intensity to that session as well. So I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in, so we're not going to muck about here too much. Before I get into the nitty gritty here and get stuck into this session, I just want to take a second to thank everybody who has liked, commented underneath the first 2 videos and subscribed to the channel. All that support means the world. You know, I've contemplated doing this channel for the last few years, but just different things hadn't aligned correctly. However, this year they have, so that's why I'm here delivering some content to you guys. So whether you're watching this while you're on the treadmill or a cross trainer, during your warm-up, or whether it's your cardio, whether it's pre-workout and you're smashing down your oats or whatever you're having, I just hope that you find something useful out of the videos, and if you do the good and like and subscribe, comment, and continue to do that. Let's build some momentum here, folks. So for now, I'm going to get stuck in. I'm going to catch you on the flip side, so once I've done, we'll try to summarize the session. So for now, let's see it. Alright folks, so I'm just going to do first set here. First exercise is the safety bar split squat. So we're going to aim in around sort of 8 to 10 repetitions. So with my intention with the safety bar is to obviously hit the quads, but I feel like we get a lot of activation into the glute as well because we're creating quite a lot of hip flexion as well. So I'm actually going to say that for me this is going to be a better exercise to develop your glutes than a hip thrust. Now although the EMG analysis suggests that the hip thrust reigns king, I feel that the window of tension is very, very small, and we'll cover that later on. Whereas I feel that we can eccentrically load your glute a lot more through this, particularly if we put a little bit of emphasis on heel pressure through that eccentric phase. So let's check this out. Set 1. Yeah, not bad set. So in terms of setup, particularly with a free split squat of any kind, whether it's just a standard barbell, dumbbell or safety bar, foot position is going to be key. So you don't want to tightrope, like stack the feet in front of each other. The back foot should be like a stabilizer on a child's bike, slightly lateral. And also I find this really helps, the front foot, just turn it in around 5 degrees, 5 to 10 degrees. I feel it creates more stability through that eccentric phase. And I always say, with a split squat, a good negative is a positive. So we want to try and load that, shift the knee forward during that eccentric phase, keep as much heel pressure as we can, and drive the heel down as we come up through that concentric. And the final thing that I will say, I think that will be quite useful with a split squat is, whenever you split squat, because that back leg is going to move back from the rack, you don't need to unrack and walk the bar out. Literally I unrack and then just stride back. So it means that whenever I've completed that set, I'm literally going to be able to fall into the rack. So up, drive through, and then stack it into the J hooks, rather than walk it out, fully fatigue, and then try to not only extend but also walk the bar back in. Make light of heavy work, guys. So let's get that right side done. Yeah, great set. So I'm blowing out my ASS here. So one of the things we also need to factor in whenever you're switching from a standard barbell into a safety bar, in terms of conversion, the safety bar, this safety bar weighs 30 kg. So it's easy just to go, oh, you've got 20 kg on an Olympic bar, I'm going to add the same amount of weight onto that. You've got to factor in that the bar itself is actually heavier. If you haven't calculated that in or factored it in, and you start to lift, that extra 10 kilo will be very much felt. So it can be a dream crusher on that front. So just make sure that you know the kit that you're using, what it is and how to use it. So that set felt really good. First set was 110 kilo. I'm going to work up another 10 each side. That'll take me up to 130. Now I haven't done this heavy during this mesocycle yet, So it'll be interesting just to see how this moves. So I think a realistic target that's not going to go to failure will be in around sort of 5-6 repetitions. So we'll see how that feels. That's the narration done from now. I'm just going to smash these sets. Alright, here we go. I could actually get folded up like a cheap deck chair here. Let's get strong. Easy. Let's get it. Yeah, easy. Plenty of room to push out over the next few weeks. Yeah. Exercise 2 will be the prone leg curls. So first of all, the hamstring comprises of 3 muscles. So bicep femoris, semitendinosus, semimembranosus. So all those muscles actually originate on the ischial tuberosity, which is your sit bone. So that's the bit whenever you're in competition prep and you start getting skinnier, even if you sit on a soft surface, you just feel this starting to like pulsate. It's not very comfortable. So that's your sit bone. It also looks like a superhero's goggles from the front profile. So we'll maybe put an image of that in there somewhere. So what we're trying to do is actually stabilize, because we're focusing on knee flexion. So I want to stabilize the pelvic girdle as much as possible. And it's, I see a lot of people whenever they go into prone leg curls that you see the pelvis trying to anteriorly tilt, and that's literally just like the dog chasing its own tail. So we want to try and keep the pelvis as stable as possible and just focus primarily on the knee flexion phase. So a good trick would be keep your chin at a certain point on the bench and don't allow it to move from that point. So, and we're pulling ourselves forcefully, our torso, into the bench and into the pad as hard as we can. And then just try to control. Also, don't allow the knee to lift off the pad. It's quite often you'll see people, once they get to here, they kind of create this like false peak contraction, just be going into hip extension. So if we're focused on knee flexion, that's the joint that we're trying to make sure is the only one that moves. All right, set 1. Target should be in around sort of 6-8 repetitions. So pulling my chin down, create pressure into the pad, drive. 1. Take another rep. Good set. Whew. Set 2, back off. Not dropping the weight too much. Okay, that was a tight set. 2 reps up from last week. So once again, what we need to understand is there is a thing called like subconscious or non-conscious regression. Our brains know where we're efficient. It understands our mechanics better than we do consciously. So what happens with a leg curl, even seated or prone, is that you'll notice your legs almost want to go into like a frog position, like that. They want to sort of externally rotate, and that's just so you're creating a more biased alignment for the bicep femoris, which is the outer hamstring, which also has 2 heads. We'll break that down a little bit more later on. But the bicep femoris actually produces the most force out of all the hamstring muscles. So that's why your brain knows once you start to fatigue, it just changes that line of pull and tries to bias other muscles. So just make sure that whatever position you're starting with, you're going to finish that set with it. Remember, a repetition means to repeat. So we're trying to repeat, like on the 10th rep, what we did on rep 1. So a little equipment modification here. Just do this at your own risk, obviously, if you're in your respective gyms. So I've just got little yoga wedges here. A little bit of Velcro, plenty of it on as well, so I get enough contact on that. And then just set it up, make sure that the setup is symmetric on both sides. That's just going to allow me to create a little bit more pressure throughout the entire foot, rather than the heels lifting off and just loading up the ankle joint. So we're trying to bias the quads here. Yeah. Alright, back off set. That first set actually just went up, increased the weight a little bit by 20 kilo from last week. Was able to match the reps. Fairly happy. The overall intensity was pretty good too. So back off, just going to increase the reps a little bit, but the overall intensity should remain the same. Let's get tight. Okay, RDLs, dumbbell. So just a few cues that we want to go through. First of all, getting into a good postural position, as we all know, is very much important. So instead of thinking about the back, quite often I find, even with a lot of beginners, I would talk about opening up the distance between the belly button and the sternum. So if we focus on just lifting the rib cage up a little bit, it'll force the spine into more extension. So that's going to be a great position for us to start in. Then the first external cue that we're going to use is an action of driving the hips backwards. So we're going to load the heel, keeping the legs straight. They don't need to be locked out. And then we're just going to start hinging through the hips, pushing the hips backwards. Now once you can no longer move further back, that's you, end of your range. Notice that Edel bypassed her range a little bit, come back up again, come back up to the top. So track back until the hips can no longer move backwards. There's your mechanical range. That is the hamstring fully elongated. The only way now that Edel can go through or deeper would be to accommodate through the lower back. That means that on the concentric, the back is going to be the first muscle to start activating. So we come back up into our active range there. Now we want to focus on driving the heel down through the floor, and simultaneously we're driving the hip in through. So that's through the concentric, drive the hip forcefully forward. So ultimately all we're looking to do is the hip to travel in a nice horizontal plane the whole way through here at all times. It should never deviate or change in height. Hopefully that helps. Okay, we're nearly finished today's leg workout, so we're going to finish off with a little bit of glutes, particularly the glute max. The glute max has origins up around the posterior ilium, sacrum, and laterally it comes down kind of at an angle here to the lesser trochanter and down into the IT band as well. So the glute max is considered what's called a fusiform muscle. That literally means all the muscle fibers run parallel to each other, so they've got pretty much the same line of pull. So we're going to try and create a hip thrust which is suitable for those muscle fibers in order to get as much out of them as possible. Okay, so we're just going to go through a quick setup here to get as much out of the glute max. So guys, girls, if you want bigger glutes, this is what we want to do. So feet are quite low on the foot plate, as you can see. I also want the feet around 1 1/4 hip width, so a little bit wider. Ultimately what we're looking for, because of the line of fibers from the glute, we want the femur to be coming out at an angle roughly around sort of 20%, 20 to 30% I think from the hip would be absolutely ideal. So once we get into that position, we're going to lift the weight out. So a couple of things that we want to do with the upper body first of all is just lift the thoracic and cervical spine off. This creates better neutrality through the lumbar spine here. We want to create as much heel pressure as possible. And then what we're going to do is limit our active range. So we're only going to lower maybe about 3 to 4 inches, not right down into the pocket, and then drive through and spend some time at the top of that active range. So we want to hold the squeeze. Now we don't want to force into an American hip thrust, which would be hyperextension of the hip. We just want to take the hip up into neutral and then control. Whenever I see people dropping their hips right down here, ladies and gentlemen, there's not enough resistance down there. Most of the effort is towards extension, so that's where we want to spend a little bit more time. And if you can't get the hip into full extension, it's absolutely useless. And although I think that this exercise rates, I think, highest in terms of EMG analysis, I think there are better exercises for the glute max. Things that I would actually prefer, as I said at the start, would be things like split squats, even like single leg presses. I think are very effective to eccentrically load the glute as well. So get stuck into them. Quite common, I see people whenever they're doing like the hip thrust, and you'll feel it yourself where the quads almost sort of build up in lactic acid, particularly if you've incorporated your hip thrust in with your leg program. You'll feel that the legs, your quads is almost your limiting factor. Well, for me that's indicative that you're just creating too much knee flexion and knee extension, so that's another justifiable reason why we want to minimize that overall active range. Spend more time just driving up it concentrically and holding that peak contraction at the top. Again, just to reiterate, feet slightly outside hip width, toes flared. Set it up in alignment with the actual glute max fibers. That's just going to be one set to failure. Oh, that's how we do it. Is failure. Alright, my favourite people, so back to where it all started about an hour and a half ago. Feels like a couple of days, but all in all, really happy with today's performance. I felt like I took some progressions both in terms of weight and repetitions. Recovery felt very efficient today. Mindset was very strong. And I think that came across quite well, hopefully in the video, in terms of the amount of energy I was able to project. So this is the direction that I want to see the channel go in. So both trying to break down anatomy, biomechanics, but also just create a little bit of intensity in there as well. So if you are watching it pre-workout, it's not making you fall asleep before you go in for a max lift. If anything, hopefully it might spur you on a little bit. So yeah, just to summarize that, very happy. So today's footage was shot on the 8th of the 8th, so that was Monday, and it should be going live by Sunday, so it'll be a 6-day turnaround, and try to make it sort of habitual in terms of 12 noon, try to make the videos go live each week. The next session that I will record and upload will be chest and probably a little bit of biceps and stuff in there as well, and then the final session of the shoot will be my back, the main back program that I haven't shot yet. So we'll be covering all the fundamentals of all those body parts as well. So guys, I'm just going to finish off by once again reiterating what I said at the start of the session, which was I feel very thankful for everybody that showed me some support and already subscribed to the channel. But I can see whenever you subscribe, it comes through to me through my Google notifications, so I can see who's doing it and who's not. So it'd be really nice just to see some more people hit that subscribe this week. And that'll give me the encouragement that I need to keep moving forward, particularly as I get into the back end of prep. We all know that sort of energy at that point can be sporadic and not always predictable. So as long as you are interacting, I'm more than happy to put this up. So comment underneath, like, subscribe, share, post notifications, hit that bell button. Do all the good stuff, folks. And until the next time, smash your training, be positive, and continue growing some tissue. See you guys soon.